Welcome to Magic Beyond the Books. Today we are talking about the Halloween scene from the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm Renee, and Lynn is back with us, guest hosting the podcast. Do you want to introduce yourself and share your Patronus?
Yeah, I'm Lynn, and my Patronus is an otter.
Oh, that's interesting. Did it say more about why you're an otter?
So the description for the otter on the Harry Potter website says otters are nimble creatures and talented swimmers, playful and dexterous. They have even been known to juggle rocks. Known for their intelligence, it is no surprise that Hermione Granger also has this Patronus.
Yeah, that's the same as Hermione's. And I always remember it because Ron's is a dog, and like dogs have been known to chase after otters, and then Hermione's is an otter, which I thought was cute.
Mm. Oh, that is really cute. And that makes a lot of sense for Ron too.
Yeah. My Patronus is an Aussie cat, which is just a type of domestic cat.
Oh, really? I've never heard
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it's
I was,
OCICAT.
I didn't realize there was a Patronus quiz, and I was just gonna like come up with my own Patronus, even though I looked it up and wizards don't choose their Patronuses. It's defined as a magical manifestation of their deepest personality or affinity drawn from happy memories. So if I chose it, I feel like I would say it's Miso, my cat. One of my happiest memories are with him. And yeah, it just would make a lot of sense for me.
And Miso is a Siamese cat, right?
Yeah, he's a Siamese cat. Yeah, he's got a lot of personality. He's very friendly and he is very vocal.
Mm. Yeah, I think if I was choosing mine, I'd like it to be a dog, or I'm more of a dog person. I have a dog. So I think it was weird that I got a cat. But I
Hmm.
guess that's more of my personality. I'm not sure.
Maybe that does say something about your personality.
Do you think it's fitting for me?
I actually think it kind of is because, I mean, not all cats are like this. I've learned having a cat, but cats are known for being to themselves and not super friendly. And also being kind of like mischievous. You know the concept of like couples or friends will describe themselves as like golden retriever and black cat. That's what
Hmm.
you and Greg are, I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense because I like when I hear that when people say, "Oh, the like black cat and golden retriever." In that instance, I'm like I'm the black cat. I don't relate to golden retrievers.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into the episode. Before we get into it, warning, there are Harry Potter spoilers in this episode. So, this is your official spoiler warning. The scene that we're talking about is from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Both of them are book one. It's chapter 10, Hallowe'en. And if you're listening to the audiobook, it should be about 14 minutes into chapter 10. We're just going to talk about the feast and the troll scene and everything kind of from there. Like I'm not going to go through like the entire day of Halloween. And the pages are 172 to 179. And it goes like from 14 minutes into chapter 10 to the end of the chapter. Quick summary: the Halloween feast is interrupted when a troll infiltrates Hogwarts. Harry and Ron form an unlikely friendship with Hermione after their adventure into the girls' bathroom. So we'll talk about that more in a second, but let's do our listener question of the week. This week's listener question of the week is: did Lavender Brown die in the Battle of Hogwarts, which was in book 7?
Shoot, I forgot to brush up on my Battle of Hogwarts history, actually.
I had to brush up on this myself. I had some initial opinions just from like my faint memories,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went back and watched the movie scene, and I also reread the book. So before I go into it though, like I want to know your interpretation, your thoughts, your memory of, do you think that Lavender Brown died?
I can't say I remember her in the Battle of Hogwarts, but I feel like if I had to guess, I'd say that she dies because I feel
Okay.
like she's unfortunately kind of like a disposable, like side character. I hate to say that, but yeah, I feel like she wouldn't make it.
So my initial reaction was that she didn't die, but I had like a memory of her getting attacked by Fenrir Greyback. So I was like, maybe she's supposed to be a werewolf afterwards or something. But here's our answer. So first of all, to clear things up, there's two very different things that happen in the movie and the book. So do you want me to start with the book or the movie?
Start with a book.
Okay. So in the book, she does not die. I guess I should just say that. This is the direct quote from this scene in the book. It's a couple sentences, so bear with me here. But two bodies fell from the balcony overhead as they reached the roof, or as they reached the ground, and a gray blur that Harry took for an animal sped four-legged across the hall to sink its teeth into one of the fallen. No, shrieked Hermione, and with a deafening blast from her wand, Fenrir Greyback was thrown backward from the feebly stirring body of Lavender Brown. That's all we get. And then there's no other mention of Lavender after that. So the reason I say that she's alive is she clearly, to like recap what happens there, two people fall to the ground, one of them being Lavender. She fell off of a balcony, and then Fenrir Greyback goes to attack her, but doesn't even get to her before Hermione like blasts him away. And then we're left with the like little quote feebly stirring body of Lavender Brown, which if she's stirring, like she was at least alive when they left her, right?
Yeah, that's how I would interpret that. But I almost would, the term feebly stirring makes me think that, like, I don't know if this is dramatic, but that, like, she was not doing well, that she could have, like, been on the brink of dying.
Yeah, I think they left it where it's kind of up to your interpretation, maybe. Like, she could have died from the complications of the battle and literally falling off of a balcony, But we're not like given we're not left with like she was dead or like her body was lifeless or her lifeless eyes were left out. Like I think about the descriptions of like Fred's death or Hedwig's death where it's like left in no uncertain terms that they are dead.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So that's the book. And then J.K. Rowling has not confirmed that she died. So I think we're just left to whatever we think, which I'm like hopeful that she went on to survive after and recovered from her wounds. Wizards and witches seem to be very resilient. So that's my hope for her.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
The movie is a lot different. So in the movie, the trio being Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they come upon Fenrir Greyback literally like hunched over her body, feeding on her basically. And then Hermione blasts him away, and then it's like Lavender Brown just lying on the ground with her eyes open, like not moving at all.
So they dramatized it a lot more in the movie then.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie, I think it's pretty clear that she's dead, and they have like the dramatic music and everything. So I feel like they made her die to dramatize like the severity of the battle.
Yeah, probably just for that movie magic.
Okay, let's get back to the episode. So let's get into Halloween at Hogwarts. This is the first Halloween that we get to see, book one. And should we start by talking about just the Great Hall decorations and food?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like Hogwarts was like made for Halloween.
Yes, it is like the description of going into the great feast, and when they have these big feasts for like the holidays and everything, it seems like so fun, and even more so Halloween than Christmas, because it seems like a lot of students don't stay for Christmas, whereas like they're all there for Halloween. So the books describes it as 1,000 live bats fluttering around the walls and ceiling, and then an additional 1,000 live bats forming clouds over the tables. And then around or in between those bats, you have floating pumpkins and floating candles all like through the air in the Great Hall. Whereas in the movie, there's no bats. I don't think there's any candles, but they do have the jack-o'-lanterns floating in the air, which I love that like visual. If you were decorating for Halloween at Hogwarts, what would you add?
Um, Definitely a ton of candles. I feel like the bats really does it though, and especially the jack-o'-lanterns in the movies.
Yeah. I mean, it's 2,000 live bats, so they definitely, that's a lot of bats.
Yeah.
So for the food, the book, for some reason I thought the book described the feast more, but the only thing that the book talks about is them having baked potato. That's it. We don't get any more food.
Really? That's so funny.
Right?
Because in the movies, it's just like you'll talk about this, but it's really lavish in the movie.
Yeah, in the book, they don't even they just say like they talk about the decorations and then they say Harry was just starting on his potato when Quirrell comes in, which we'll talk about later. But um so yeah, so that's all we get. Like they don't even say like all this food appeared or X, Y, and Z came up or anything. It was just like, oh, he's starting his potato. And I this got me down a rabbit hole because I try to listen to the Philosopher's Stone. Like I try to listen to the British version and the American version, Americanized version of the books a lot, like the audiobooks when I'm prepping an episode just to try to see if there's differences. And or sometimes I forget or like I'm listening to one or the other, but this one I was listening to the Philosopher's Stone, and you know what they called the potato?
What?
They called it a jacket potato.
That's so strange. What's a regular potato to them?
That it's a jacket potato. So this guy, I literally re-listened to it over and over again because I was like, I'm sure I'm hearing this wrong. Like, and then I Googled it, and this is a thing. And the people that are from the UK are probably like, duh, jacket potatoes. But a jacket potato is almost like essentially a baked potato.
Okay. They're just like it's in its jacket.
Exactly. So if you're listening to the Philosopher's Stone audiobook, it's 14 minutes 58 seconds if you want to hear it. But I Googled this and then I saved a table breakdown of the differences between a jacket potato and a baked potato if you'd like to hear them.
Oh my goodness.
It's essentially the same. There's just some subtle differences. Apparently the jacket potato, they usually cut an X over the top before cooking just for the like steam to escape. And then apparently jacket potatoes are usually cooked for a longer period so the skin is extra crispy and the interior is
Mm,
more fluffy.
that makes a lot of sense to me then.
So yeah, but it's essentially a baked potato. So if anyone's listening to the Philosopher's Stone or reading the Philosopher's Stone and they see that and they have the same reaction as me, it's a baked potato. But let's talk about the food from the movie. So I tried to like take screenshots and look as best as I could so we can talk about all the things that I saw. And there's some things I'm not even sure what they are. I saw a lot of desserts. It seems like, which is again, this is like in the movie, it seems like they're well into the feast and they're eating dessert when Quirrell comes in, versus in the book, it's like Harry's taking his first potato onto his plate and then like he hasn't eaten anything and then like this whole troll stuff goes down. But the movie desserts, I saw lemon cake. I saw a lot of coins on the table, which I'm assuming are like chocolate coins, right?
Yeah,
Unless
I'd
they just have
assume.
coins.
Here's some money.
I know. I think if those were real coins, the Weasleys would be sweeping that up.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw a lot of apples, like what looked like red, like Granny Smith apples, jelly beans, which probably were Birdie Blott's every flavored beans, maybe. I saw donuts and some type of like orange candy or something. Like it looked kind of like mandarin oranges slices. Marshmallows, assorted lollipops, lots of different lollipops, like big, small, like those classic like swirly ones you see. Chocolate cake, what I think was maybe pineapple upside down cake. I'm not sure. And then the big thing that I have a question about is there were these things that looked like cones with sprinkles on them. Like what is this in the middle? It looks like I'm going to just try to describe this for the listeners. It looks like someone took a large tray, dumped a bunch of jelly beans onto it, and then took ice cream cones covered in sprinkles and just put them face down with no ice cream on a plate.
That's so interesting. I wonder what that is actually.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not really sure. Like maybe this is a British dessert that we just don't know about.
Also, this school's got a lot of money for that. They got a big budget.
Which I seriously wonder also because like Harry doesn't does this is always like bothered me. Does Harry pay for school and does everyone pay for school, or is this like a government like public school? Because they talk about the government being involved in like the school decision making.
Really, I would love to know. It's giving private school to me, though, like I would think you'd have to pay, but also that seems is obviously problematic with Harry and also the Weasleys as well.
Yeah, how the heck is anyone like the Weasleys with five kids or so at a time going to school? But it does give private school because there's like room and board and everything.
Yeah.
And they definitely buy their own books and like wands and like their materials for school.
So are there any wizard schools where they go back home to their parents at the end of the day?
I don't think so. Apparently not.
Yeah.
Which that's another thing that gets me is like I I can't, I guess this is for every boarding school, but I just can't fathom having children to just like send them to be away from you for the entire year and only be back with you for like a couple months every summer.
Yeah, I could not do that either. So I don't know how people do that.
Boarding school people write us, tell us how you do it. How are you away
Yeah,
from your
let us
kids?
know. Do you like your kids?
Okay, should we go through the timeline of the scene?
Yeah. For the timeline of the scene, Harry and Ron arrive at the Great Hall for the Halloween feast. And then the boys learn that Hermione's been in the bathroom crying all afternoon. And I forget in the book, but in the movie, it's the context is that Ron basically makes fun of Hermione for being a know-it-all, and she walks by them and hears it and is crying. And then from there, we're admiring the decorations, and then the food is appearing on the tables. And then dun dun dun, students just start eating when Quirrell enters. And in the movie they look well into dessert when Quirrell runs in. He like bursts into the room. And then he gasps and he goes like I'm trying to remember how he says it in the movie. He's like, trolls! He's like, let me find this again. He's like, troll in the dungeons! And then he's like, thought you ought to know. And well, he's like saying thought you ought to know as he's basically passing out in the movie. And then he faints and falls backwards.
Yes, which is like this is all like pretty much the same from the books. But all of this I'm kind of like since knowing what we know of how this movie ends up or this book, like is Quirrell faking fainting?
I don't know. I think it is kind of strange because he's supposed to like have this dark arts background. I think that it's oh actually and given that are we allowed to say that we know that he brought the troll in?
Yeah, yeah. We said spoilers from the beginning. So
Okay.
if you're with us now, we said spoilers. But yeah, like he brought the troll in the dungeon. He had he was the one that brought a troll to guard the sorcerer's stone as well. He's
Hmm.
supposed to be like good with trolls. So like is this all a show? Or like how does he working himself up into a faint?
That's interesting because I interpreted him fainting as real just because he's known as being like a very nervous person, but also like I don't know. I guess in my head I'm like somehow he pulled all this off and now he's getting to the point where he's overwhelmed essentially. That's I want to think the good of people, but you never know,
All
I
the
guess.
pressure from Voldemort. He's like, there's a part of it that's real fear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So from this is the part that I love from the movies is there's just a total uproar of the students. If you go back and watch this movie scene, like the everyone just starts screaming and they all jump up. Ron screams and drops his food. Malfoy screaming, and they just start jumping up and like running around. And this is when Dumbledore like has to wrangle them. So in the books, he sends firecrackers from his wand to get everyone to quiet down. In the movies, I think he just says like silence or something. He just yells at them. And the prefects are ordered to take all the students back to their houses, which of course Percy is delighted by this. And Harry and Ron kind of initially go with the group, but then they start to realize like, oh, wait a minute, Hermione's been crying in the bathroom this whole time. Like she doesn't know about the troll. Who better to tell her than us? We should we should leave our group and go warn her because we first years you need to get this situation under control, right?
Which is actually really sweet, I think, because it kind of, I forget who it is that out of Ron or Harry that decides to go look for Hermione. I would guess it would be Harry, but I'm not remembering right now. But they kind of note this as like the start of, we'll get to this more, but the start of their friendship, which I think is really sweet.
Yeah. I think they feel a lot of guilt for the things that they said earlier with her and like you might say something about someone and you're not trying to be mean, but then when they take it really personally, you're like, "Oh shoot, like I didn't really mean like it in a mean way." So yeah, so they go after her to tell her and they end up like this is a little bit different. I think they have this arranged in different order, but at some point while they're like going to Hermione, they see Snape passing and going towards the third floor, which comes up later to be like this is where the suspicions are starting that Snape is the one that's doing all of this stuff and trying to get the Sorcerer's Stone. But they continue on and they see the troll. And the troll kind of meanders over into a room, and the boys are like, let's just lock it in that room, and then it won't be an issue. The key's in the lock, like, this is great. And so they lock the troll in the room, and then come to realize they're like running away like in triumph, and then come to realize when they hear Hermione screaming her head off that they've now locked the troll into the girls' bathroom with Hermione.
Also in the movie, she's got some thick hair on her. I was almost wondering, like, is this a wig? Do you remember that?
On Hermione, you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always thought it was her real hair, but maybe she does have like a thick head of hair in the movies, or at least in these initial movies, where I feel like in the later movies her hair isn't that thick.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
so Wiggate, tell us, do you think it's a wig? Is it a wig? Is it extensions?
Do you know that thing from what's his name? The main actor in Lord of the Rings, Frodo.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Oh,
doing an interview with one of his co-stars, and it's like he's like, but he doesn't know that his co-star is interviewing him.
mm-hmm.
We need an intervention with Hermione. Why can't I think of the actress's name?
Emma Watson.
Yeah, we need to do an interview with Emma Watson. Do you wear wigs? Will you wear wigs? Have you worn wigs?
Yes, I like she recently did an interview. Like she hasn't been doing a lot of like public stuff, and she recently did an interview, and I'm like, why did they not start with have you worn wigs? Will you wear wigs?
Yeah, I saw that. That was interesting.
So where were we? Hermione might have a wig. She's in the bathroom with the troll now.
She's in the bathroom adjusting her wig.
Yes, and uh so Harry and Ron go in to try to rescue her. And they decide like they're just some kids. So they're like, we're just gonna confuse him and then maybe like Hermione can crawl out and get out of there. But Hermione is just like froze in the movies. She does a better job. She's like moving around trying to get away from it. But in the books, she's just frozen with fear. Like she is just in pure shock. Like she can't even move. But the boys are running around like throwing faucets and pipes at it. And then this is where Harry gets the grand idea to jump on the troll. And so he jumps on the troll's back and sticks his wand up his nose unintentionally. And then the in the books, he's just kind of like on the back, and then this is where Ron comes in. But in the movies, they have this where like the troll's holding Harry upside down and swinging the bat at him. And Ron, from their earlier Flitwick's class, the only spell that he's like learned so far apparently is Wingardium Leviosa. So he's got to pull that one out, and he manages to get like the troll's club, and then they drop the troll's club on its head and knock it out. So that
I
worked
think
out.
that's a great connection, actually, because isn't Hermione kind of trying to teach him how to say Wingardium Leviosa? And then he does the spell, which I think is really sweet. Like it shows that he actually somewhat listens to her.
Yeah, it's such a little sneaky moment because you're like, there's so much going on, but it's like, oh, he actually learned the spell from Hermione kind of because she was coaching him earlier. Like she actually
Yeah.
helped him and he actually listened.
Yeah.
Because obviously he wasn't able to do it in class, and then he's able to do it now, like after her coaching.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so the troll gets knocked out. Harry gets his wand out of his nose, and this is where McGonagall, Snape, and Quirrell enter and find them like this. And McGonagall questions them, and Hermione jumps in and lies and says that she went looking for the troll, and then Ron and Harry came and saved her. And this is where the boys are just like completely shocked by Hermione, because this whole time up to now, they've thought like, oh, she's such a rule follower. She's like obsessed with doing well in school and impressing the teachers. And now here she is like willfully lying just to cover for them.
Yeah. They're like, she's actually kind of cool. And I think it's It's actually like I said already, but I think this is really sweet and feels like a very natural, like, way for their friendship to form. Because they were kind of gonna get to know each other and they kind of got to see like another side of her.
Yeah. The side that comes out later when she sets Snape on fire and kidnaps a reporter and convinces them to create a secret defense society, you know.
Yeah.
uh so McGonagall decides to take 5 points from Hermione for trying to do this, but the boys each get 5 points for taking down the troll, which in the movie McGonagall says for sheer dumb luck.
Which is accurate.
Accurate. Um, and then they all go back to the common room, and in the books they have it where they like basically brought the feast up to the common rooms or down or wherever they are so that they could all actually eat since they didn't get a chance to eat dinner. And you know, Hermione had gone up a little bit before the boys, and the boys get up as well, and they all get their food, and they all just kind of shyly say thanks to one another, and then they officially become friends. And this is like, they say it specifically in the book that this is the start of their friendship, and it's such a cute little like wrap up to the chapter into Halloween.
Yeah, I think it was really, really cute. Cute little like beginning of marking the beginning of their friendship.
Yeah, so I want to go through some reactions from of our reactions for the scene, and like from the movies or books or like thoughts that you might have had. There's one reaction that I have to kick us off that from the movie specifically, I just want to say, like, I noticed a lot of things about the bathroom in the movie that I thought were just very interesting.
Hmm.
So first of all, this bathroom is like massive, massive enough for a troll to be able to stand in it. So it's super tall. And it seems to also be a locker room because when they first walk in, there's like lockers in the front, and then there's a bunch of hooks along the wall that like there's one towel hanging on one of them. So it looks like there must be like showers somewhere because there's these lockers and then there's like towels in addition, but we only see the part where there's like sinks and toilets.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even notice that actually. But I guess it makes sense. Maybe they have to have like multiple places for kids to like take showers.
Yeah, they never talk about it. Like they talk about them taking baths and showers, like, you know, oh, I got to go take a shower, like I got to go take a bath or whatever. But the only time we actually like see a bath is the prefect's bathroom. But like, I mean, they have to have places that they're go like that non-prefects are able to go.
Yeah. Hmm.
My second and more strong reaction to this bathroom is that the mirrors are criminal. And I say criminal like with all capital letters. I think this is the worst thing to have in a girl's bathroom. I'm going to show you a screenshot. Look at how tiny these mirrors are
Oh
on the
my
bathroom.
gosh. Come on, Hogwarts. What?
Like compared to Hermione's wig, like she can't even see her full head of hair in this tiny little mirror above the
Yeah.
sink.
Wow. This was not a good bathroom to fix her wig. But
Exactly.
wow, the budget, it really went to the Halloween feast and instead of the bathrooms.
Instead of the bathroom mirrors, it's just crazy to me. Like I've never seen mirrors so small in a bathroom before. Like it's not even the full length of the sink. It's like a little, it's probably the size of like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper or smaller. And
Yeah.
they're like little mirrors like tacked to the wall.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
But yeah, I thought that was an interesting choice for the movies. I would hate if this was the bathroom. It's like, I don't know. It's like if they're trying to get the girls to like spend less time in the bathroom.
Maybe, but not great interior design.
Yeah. Did you have any initial reactions from the scene?
Oh goodness. Just that I feel like I know this is not the point of the scene, But trolls are kind of fun, and I don't feel like we get to see them as much in the other movies as far as I can remember. And also, like, let's bring back low stakes villains also, you know?
Yeah, yeah, they definitely the troll is a very like easy dumb villain. I That's a good point. I'm trying to think if we see trolls outside of this book. I can't remember if they get used in the Battle of Hogwarts. I know giants get used, maybe trolls get used. Um but yeah, I feel like they don't really come back and they're just like such a big part of this book.
Also, in the movie, they make the troll look much more human-like. Um, he's kind of looks like a giant that just has like grayish, I'm trying to remember the color, grayish, bumpy skin. But in the book, the illustration shows him with like pointed ears and looking like much more like a creature, I would say.
Yeah, the in the movies, he's very yeah, he's like bluish, grayish maybe. Um and generally like human-ish, like has like round ears, like a
He's just
human-like
some bald
face.
guy.
Yeah, he looks like a bald person kind of. Um but then there's some different like in the illustrated books, they look
Ah,
very like scaly, kind of like bumpy skin, bumpy, hairy skin.
yeah, in this book illustration, it kind of looks similar to the orcs in Lord of the Rings, actually,
Oh,
but like,
yeah.
an even bigger version.
And yeah, and the skeleton, there's like a skeleton illustration. It makes me think of like an ape. They have like really long arms.
Yeah, he does.
And then in the book, like the original books, each of the chapters have the little mini illustration, and that one makes it look like super, super hairy, like hair all over its body.
Yeah, there's a lot of different kind of interpretations of what they would look like, it seems like. And
Yeah.
what's this picture from?
This picture that we're looking at now is another from the like illustrated books by Jim Kay.
Oh, okay.
Um, that had the other like the other pictures we were looking at where they're like more scaly with like bumpy orc like skin.
Yeah, in the book illustration for the regular books, they give him kind of like a normal outfit too. Like he looks very much just honestly pretty similar to a giant, I would say, in the book illustration, not the illustrated books, but the chapter illustration.
Yeah, the chapter illustration has him in like a tank top with a little vest over it and like some shorts. Whereas the like for the movie, for example, he's like his bottoms look like rags kind of.
Yeah. Are they able to talk?
I think that some people try to train them and maybe they can say a few words, but I don't know if they really talk. I think they mostly like just grunt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The illustration's telling us that it has a tiny brain.
Tiny troll brain. It says they're bad tempered, ill mannered, unpleasant creatures with little intelligence and no personality. They have a fondness for raw flesh and will gladly eat humans.
Goodness.
So yeah, I don't know. Trolls. They're not the best to look at. Also, if you're reading these books, you might notice this chapter in the Philosopher's Stone is both books, it's the chapter's title is titled Halloween, but in the Philosopher's Stone, they spell Halloween Hallowe and then an apostrophe En. So there's like an apostrophe between the two E's in ween of Halloween.
That's interesting. Do you know where that comes from?
I didn't know, but of course I went down the rabbit hole. And I guess that's so it's like from the origin of the word. So originally, Halloween comes from it being All Hallows Even or All Hallows Eve, which got later shortened to Hallowe'en. dash E apostrophe EN, and then it became Halloween. So
Oh,
it's like,
that's interesting.
yeah, so it's like just a filtrate. So Halloween with an apostrophe between the E's isn't wrong. It's just like, I guess, coming from the like a variation of how it used to be spelled. From originally it was All Hallows Eve, because originally like the main day, originally the focus wasn't on Halloween. It was All Saints Day is November 1st. So it's like the night before All Hallows Day or All Saints Day was Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, which became Halloween.
Hmm.
So then that got me into the history of like what all this holiday was. Apparently, it's this. So the 17th century church had these, what, quote, 3 grand days, or All Hallowen, Candlemas, and Ascension Day. Usually there was a feast the night before, which would be Halloween now, like the October 31st, before All Saints Day. All Saints Day is what it's called now. And it used to be in the spring, but then the Western Church, Pope Gregory the Fourth, moved it to November 1st. And that date, this is where it gets like more confusing, because that date also coincided with a Celtic festival called Samhain. Samhain is spelled Samhain. And Samhain marked the end of the year and the commemoration of the dead. So it's like the end of the harvest season, beginning of winter. So it was believed, but in this Celtic festival, that the boundaries between the living and the dead thinned, and souls of the dead visited the living, which kind of reminds me of like the Day of the Dead in Mexican tradition, which
It
I
does.
like Dia de los Muertos. So I feel like that maybe goes into like why people kind of could blend those lines, right? Like I feel like people sometimes get like think that the Day of the Dead is like part of Halloween. And another thing, so during Samhain, people would wear masks and they would tell ghost stories and carve vegetables into lanterns. So I think we're getting some of the like feasts and stuff from like the All Hallows Even before All Saints Day, but then we're getting some of the Celtic traditions that have been passed down with like the wearing the mask kind of became like wearing costumes, telling ghost stories, and then carving vegetables became like carving pumpkins.
That's so interesting. Wow.
Yeah. And to top all of that off, the church had an activity called souling, like Souling, when people would go house to house and ask for cakes in return for praying for the souls of those in the house. So I guess that's what became trick or treating.
Okay, I would do that.
I'll pray for you if you give me some cake.
Bring it back.
So yeah, so that's what I found on the origins of Halloween.
That seems like a combination of a lot of different traditions, which that makes a lot of sense to me because I feel like we still do a lot of those traditions now. Minus the praying for people's souls in return for cake, of course, but which has turned into trick-or-treating.
Yeah, which is so funny because I feel like now it coming from all these like maybe religious related customs, now I feel like Halloween, or at least American Halloween that I've seen, seems to have like no religious affiliation. And even I feel like some people who are really religious will like opt out of Halloween saying that it's like, bad, but it comes from like these religious beliefs, right? Like souling, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah. Well, maybe we can tell them that they can pray for people's souls for cake instead.
Yeah. Right. You can tell people, well, I don't know if people will have cake ready, but you can tell them that you can offer to pray for their soul and in exchange for candy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting. So in case you're wondering about why Halloween is spelled with the apostrophe between the E's, that's the deep dive that I went down. Should we get into our discussion questions?
Yeah.
So the first question that we always ask is, who was your hero of the scene?
I have to say Ron because of his Wingardium Leviosa. Sorry, Leviosa. Um, because that's what really knocked out the troll and saved them. And also, I'm gonna give some points to the troll too for bringing everyone together.
Yeah. I I wrote Ron and Harry as my hero. I feel like Hermione in this one instance kind of did nothing, but I guess you make a good point. She coached Ron before all these events went down, so.
Yeah, she
And
plays a role.
yeah. And I went ahead and gave like my other like superlative is funniest slash most dramatic slash villain of the scene is goes to Quirrell for me.
Oh, definitely. He's a diva for sure.
He is seriously a diva. Okay, so what was your favorite quote from the scene?
McGonagall saying for giving them 5 points, Harry and Ron 5 points each for sheer dumb luck. Because that just kind of describes them very well.
That does. I literally looked up if that was an improv because I just felt like her delivery was so funny in the movies. And it's not, it's scripted. But yeah, I liked that little line there.
Yeah.
I didn't really have like a favorite dialogue moment, but I wrote the quote like from the book that this is the how the chapter ends, which I thought was so cute. It says, "But from that moment on, Hermione Granger became their friend. There are some things you can't share without ending up liking each other, and knocking out a 12-foot mountain troll is one of them."
Oh, that is very sweet.
Yeah, they have a little moment. I also wanted to talk about some other like factors of the scene. So I always try to look for like theories, comments, thoughts like from Reddit or like that's out there. And a couple things came up when I looked up like things surrounding the scene. So one was, why was everyone not more suspicious of Quirrell not being able to handle the troll as the defense against the dark arts teacher? I feel like we kind of talked about that before. And like part of that question is, wouldn't the professors be suspicious of Quirrell fainting, knowing that he provided a troll to protect the Sorcerer's Stone, which happened earlier?
Was Snape suspicious of him though?
Yeah, my initial reaction to these questions is that like Snape and Dumbledore were definitely suspicious. Like Dumbledore asked Snape to keep an eye on him. So I think everything that he was doing was being like watched. But I guess like in general, I'm thinking like all the other teachers or all the other students, wouldn't you be like, why are you so like like you're the defense against the dark arts? Like you are the person that would be dealing with this situation.
Yeah, that is a good question. I guess if, in my opinion, my interpretation of him, I was just like, okay, diva, and didn't think any more into it. But that is a great question. I think that, you know, also it's a part of his personality being like really nervous and so also like how does that go into being a defense against the dark arts teacher? Like how could he be good at that and be like a nervous wreck? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think the way the book portrays it, I feel, is that he's supposed to be seen as very book smart. And then when they talk about him teaching in his classes, it's very like by the book. And then they all act like he's just super nervous when it comes to like actual application of these like theories and
Mm.
concepts.
Yeah, I think Quirrell is actually a really interesting character. Just because from what I read, it seemed like he kind of move towards Voldemort perhaps because of his own insecurities, and that was maybe someone who made him feel powerful.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Quirrell definitely is like one of the worst villains, I feel, because he's like, it's kind of like super obvious. But we're on book one. This is 11-year-olds. You know, we gotta like, then the stakes gotta like be built like higher and higher each book.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Uh, but yeah, I don't, so that's all I can like excuse for his behavior. The next question, and this was a great point, I feel. So, why did everyone need to leave the Great Hall when the troll was in the dungeon? The Slytherin's common room is in the dungeon, so so they would be going towards the troll.
Just because we gotta be dramatic and might as well sacrifice some Slytherins while we're at it.
Dumbledore's like, we're gonna kill two birds with one stone here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a great point. I've literally never thought of this entire. I've watched this movie a million times. I've read the books a million times. I was like, you know what? That's a great point. Because what's so funny is when Sirius attacks the common room, like in the later book, they have all the students go to the Great Hall and they keep them there and have them sleep there so they can keep them like all together and watched and safe from like, and then they search the castle for Sirius Black. So like, even if the troll was able to get out of the dungeons, like when you think like, instead of sending the students off on in different directions on their own, why not like keep them in one room contained where they're safe, then go like deal with the troll, make sure that it's an isolated incident, and then like send them back.
Yeah, that would make so much more sense. But then, if that happened, Ron, Hermione, and Harry wouldn't have become besties.
Yeah, and we need
So,
that
yeah, that's a
because
little bit more important than everyone's safety, I think.
yeah, technically they need it. It's like a canon. Like it. This is a key point event. They needed to become friends, which then leads to like Voldemort eventually being killed. Because we know that like if Hermione wasn't Ron and Harry's friend, they would never like make it as far as they made it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the people, other than the fact that we needed to get to like, you know, we needed to do point A to point B to point C for the like canon of this story, does it make sense that all the students left the Great Hall? No, it does not at all.
No, not.
Okay, well, this was definitely a fun scene. Happy Halloween, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this magical journey through the wizarding world of Harry Potter. And don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening.
Next week, we'll be discussing Angelina Johnson. Almost thought that was Angelina Jolie. Um, until then, happy reading, happy listening, and may you have a happy Halloween.